We're going to get started because why not? And we're recording, so that's good. And so let's get started. Before we start, I would like to just, and our good friends in Southern California, we are all Californians. And just think of them. I'm sure you have been, but I just wanted to say something publicly that we should be thinking of them and their recovery as quickly as it can be. And a very timely sort of thing. We have a topic of immediate concern this evening. So. I've actually I never fought a fire in the Santa Anas. I did fight a fire near there, and then I've been down there when the Santa Anas are blowing, and it's pretty scary. You get that hot wind blowing from the east, and it just comes raging out of those mountains. And the thought of a fire starting under those circumstances is, well, you see, it can become apocalyptic. So anyway, they're working hard down there, and we should send our positive brainwaves to all our good friends in SoCal. So, all right. Thank you for all coming to the January 14th regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Placerville. If you could all rise. Let's do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's do the roll.
Councilmember Carter.
Here.
Mayor Clarici.
Here.
Vice Mayor Gottberg.
Here.
Councilmember No.
Here.
Councilmember Yarbrough.
Here.
All right, we have no ceremonial matters, and we have no closed session report because we didn't do a closed session. So can I get an adoption of the agenda? Is there anybody that wants to take anything? Change the agenda around at all?
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on our agenda? I see no public comment. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Announcements, brief announcements and presentations from the City Council. I'll start over here. Councilmember No? No?
I have none tonight.
Okay.
I have none. I also have none.
Wow. Well, I'm not going to say anything because I have none too. Okay. Let's see here. The presentation, so 6.2, presentation by the Placerville Fire Safe Council and a request for co-sponsorship. Mr. Morris, who will hand it to Mr. Acuna, I imagine.
Yeah, I don't know why, I don't think introductions are necessary, but I will turn it over to Mr. Acuna to make the presentation.
Have at it.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Certainly introductions are appropriate. Congratulations to the new mayor and our new vice mayor. My name is Mark Acuna. I'm here this evening representing the Placerville Fire Safe Council. I serve as vice chair on that organization. I'd like to also introduce our esteemed leader, Mr. David Zielinski, who's our chair. Where's David? David over here. We have Steve Allen here, who is this year's event co-chair. Steve? He's got a great experience in community communications. We look forward to working with him. And of course, Sue Rodman is here, who is our council liaison. And we thank her for her continued support, and she keeps us informed as to what we should and shouldn't be doing. So thank you, Sue, for all your time that you put in. I would also like to take a moment a little later in your agenda. You're going to be appointing your council member liaisons, and it would be most inappropriate if I didn't take a couple minutes and thank Jackie No for her service in the last couple of years as our council liaison. You did an excellent job. You were always there when we needed extra help, and we thank you very much for your extra dedication, because our meetings are at night, and we know how that goes. So with that, I would also just as enthusiastically welcome Nicole Gottberg, current vice mayor, as our new liaison, and we will be in touch. There is an orientation. It may involve lunch. All right, well, thank you. But seriously, it's a serious topic, as the mayor very appropriately mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. That could be Placerville on any hot day in the summertime. And how we go about convincing the neighbors and all the residents and the business owners that that's a reality in their backyard is one of the primary goals of what the Fire Safe Council tries to do. So I'm here this evening to proudly announce the 4th annual Placerville Wildfire Safety Day. It will be on April 26th this year. We're at the same location, 681 Main Street, Midtown Mall. We're getting great cooperation there and some assistance in the cost of use of their facilities. Again, it seems to fit us very well. Along that, I would like to thank Chief Cordero and all his folks from the El Dorado County Fire District for their full endorsement again this year. We find him to be very instrumental in keeping us dedicated to the cause. This evening we're here as a Fire Safe Council to ask for the city's support and co-sponsorship of the event. In the last 3 years, the city's co-sponsored assistance has involved the use of city chairs, tables, traffic control equipment, and some assistance during the event itself from a couple of city staffers. I should also note that Dave Warren and Nick Stone have been especially helpful, and Dave is the keeper of the printing material and keeps us on schedule for getting our flyer out and the city water bill, and also making sure that the funds that we are spending are being properly recorded. Nick and all of his folks, outstanding couple of gentlemen that have helped us in the past years, closing off the lot and taking control of all of that, getting all the chairs and tables delivered. So we'd greatly hope that we can work again with the city to continue that relationship. Now this year, we've learning from the last 3 years, we've made a couple of changes. As you've noted, the event is now in April, which we hope at the end of April, which we hope it to be clear and warm instead of partly cloudy and rainy. The event will now be open for 4 hours, starting at 10 a.m. and running till 2 p.m. I think that streamlining will facilitate an easier setup as well as more attendance from our various neighbors. One of the other changes that we're making this year is all of our various fire agencies will have their booths and information set up outside with their various fire equipment. We're thinking that will encourage a much better interaction for the visitors and also allow the fire guys to be right there with the equipment that they count on. So that'll be a nice display out front. I'm also assured that the new ladder truck will make an appearance from its location down in Single Springs, and we appreciate the chief allowing that to be our flag bearer again this year. Quite impressive from the highway. This year, because of the nature of Midtown Mall, it's kind of an acoustic nightmare. We've tried to have speakers, and we've found that it just really doesn't work. So this year there will be at this time, there will be no timed speakers presentations. We had various agencies in years past. We're going to skip that this year and instead just have those same agencies at tables throughout the mall, fully staffed, hopefully with good circulation from the visitors so that they can share their information. I'm happy to report that returning this year is Placerville Rotary. They'll provide free hot dogs, chips, and drinks again out in front. The wildfire simulation table will again be featured. I understand that, again, with the cooperation of Chief Cordero, we'll be borrowing that information and folks from El Dorado Hills Fire Department. We appreciate that. We will also have the updates on the Placerville Firewise Community Program. That is a real-life rating that we've succeeded. I don't know how long it's going to hold on with what's going on, but it has actually saved Fair Plan participants. I know myself, it's saved me several $100s each year because we are a Firewise community, and I do get a 10% discount. So that's very important. That'll be something that we will really be providing updates on. So with that, I would ask if there's any questions.
There aren't any questions.
Mr. Mayor.
I don't have a question. I have are you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
I just wanted to, again, ask for your continued support this year, and I will be back in late February to provide you with more details as far as a more refined number of presenters. We are trying to get a speaker from the State Insurance Commissioner's Office, and we may need some assistance on that.
Okay. No, that would be, yes, that would be good.
All right. thank
Last
you.
year's interaction with that lady that was there was interesting to me. I won't go into the details. This is a great event. This is a great event. It has gotten better every year, which is always a good sign. The idea of moving more of those things outside, especially, and then moving the date is good. We need to figure out, and we talked about this last year. It seems to me that if you have a bunch of fire trucks in a parking lot, it would be like a little kid magnet, like they would feel it in the force that there were all these things down, and we have to figure out a way to get the word out to children, but this sounds a little weird, but between the ages of like 2 and 7, to bring their parents down there and hang out with the fire trucks, because it seems to me like that would be a natural.
Appreciate that comment.
Yeah.
It's something that we've observed. It's still time if anybody has a connection with the local school districts to get the elementary schools involved.
Yeah.
and
There's people.
Reach out to the appropriate public
Okay.
public contact person.
Yeah.
We'd appreciate that help.
I know some folks up at Sierra, so
Okay.
I could do that. So, okay, great. Well, thank you. And there's no questions. Is there any public comment on this wonderful event? Okay. Thank you.
We all became very aware of the need for the Fire Safe Council and for fire protection right after the Paradise Fire 6 years ago. So all the work that they do is to be commended and encouraged. I guess a couple things came to mind. One is I hope that in the future you'll offer something more than that one cryptic sentence, given the importance of this subject on the agenda. But the other thing is that I just found out, talking to fire staff outside, that we actually do have an evacuation plan for fire, which is important because everybody around here remembers those images of cars scorched and people that accounted for most of the tragedies, because people just abandon their cars that block traffic, and they have the same kind of demographics and geography that we have. So it's something that I hope you'll describe in the future and maybe have a separate meeting on that subject. I've thought about for the last 6 years, because it's happened from Maui to Malibu. It keeps happening over and over, that in the case of an emergency, that's what happened. And it's something that just deserves some tweaking. In Hawaii, they actually have evacuation routes clearly marked. They'll tell you that in the case of a tsunami, here's where you go to get out. And they'll tell you how far you have to be up the hill in order to avoid a big giant wave. But they were of no value when it came to a fire, because fires don't move in that same kind of direction. And the smoke is bad, you can't see, and so it was horrible. So that's something that I hope will be publicly discussed in the future so it can be tweaked a bit. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else? By all means.
David Zielinski. I'll keep my eye on Tim and see if I say anything wrong. But hi, Tim. So in response to what Kirk was saying, everyone should have perimeter available to them and rave, and we have evacuation route possibilities. We don't know where the fire's going to be. We don't know which way the wind's going to blow. So we have to have real time. But Dan Bolster and his group and others have been working on evacuation options. If this happens, then we do this. If that happens. So we can't have fixed signs, but perimeter and rave is where you need to go for the most current information on how to get out. Is that fair, Tim? Thank you. You gave me, I better shut up now. Okay, thank you.
What does RAVE stand for?
Help me, Tim.
Okay. That's fine. It's just, it's an alert system. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I look forward to working again with this event, and I look forward to seeing you folks next month. Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Okay. Come to the podium and then talk. Otherwise, yeah. Thank you.
My name is Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
And I'd like to address some issues about the shelter and people on probation. I think
Tammy, hold on. There is not in the not too distant future, there's a part of the agenda called, in fact, it's item 8, public comment for non-agendized items.
no.
That's okay. You see, you come and you learn how we do it. So just hold on till item 8, and then you can come up and tell us all you want to tell us.
Okay.
Sure, thank you. Okay. Anybody on this particular item else? Okay. Oh, very good. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the comments. We look forward to hearing from you in February on getting more of the juicy details about what's going to happen next. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. The next item, 7, consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion. The reading of the full text of all resolutions will be waived unless a council member requests otherwise. So, does anybody have any items they wish to pull or have a question about?
I just had a correction on item 7.1.
Yes.
For last council
Oh,
meeting.
right.
Item 3.6, it incorrectly reported the votes. Councilmember Carter voted aye, and it just had Zaragoza as abstaining, so.
And he wasn't here. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make that one correction in the minutes.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions, comments about this? Okay. Does any,
Just quickly, Mr. Carter brought up one minor correction.
Oh.
Item 7 point, trying to remember what it was now, 7 the
7
Tim
point?
Feed report, so 7.6.
you don't even remember?
Very minor, it's on the report, we'll correct it, it's just a letter.
Oh.
Should be table 2 instead of table 3.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Anyway, we have that, we'll make sure that it's corrected and filed.
Perfect. Okay. So we have a little, well, what's actually significant, we describe someone who was not here. That's actually significant. And the 2, 3 thing, very important as well. Okay. Are there any public comments on our consent calendar? Great. Okay, let's bring it back here. Can I get a motion and a second?
I'll move the consent calendar.
I'll second.
So we have a motion, a second. Can I need a roll call, right? Yeah, okay, roll call us, please.
Councilmember Carter?
Aye.
Councilmember No?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarbrough?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gottberg?
Aye.
Mayor Clarici?
Aye. Thank you very much. Now, item 8. This portion is public comment for non-agendized items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the council on any matter not, I repeat, not on the agenda. That is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. We cannot take any action on these things because the law does not allow us to. And I just ask that you be nice and don't say nasty things about people that you wouldn't want to have them say about you in a public forum. You have 3 minutes. And do we have any oral yes, we have oral communication. That's next. I'm sorry. Go.
Hi again, my name is Tammy Wickert, and I'd like to address being out there homeless and all the people on probation.
Okay.
I really know that for a fact that they're too much time to party and do illegal stuff. I really want probation work project to come back and start cleaning up our city, you know. And then another issue is the homeless shelter is they changed the whole contract from the mayor, what the mayor and the government did. They have got all LA people in there now, and they have eliminated 7 of ours from last month, passed away. They died and froze because all of our citizens are being evicted, and they're having other people come in from other cities, and they're housing them first, you know, and 7 of them died. They said they froze to death. It's not cool. You know, the whole contract has just changed. They haven't gone according to what the mayor did. So I would just, appreciate them getting to notice it, you know.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comment.
Sue Rodman, member of the Placerville Fire Safe Council. And these are my comments, and they relate to what we're talking about today. There is a lesson to be learned from the ongoing fire disaster in LA. We live in an area where wildfire is ever present, and if we are to avoid a similar disaster, we need to be prepared. Fire hydrants without water is usually an avoidable threat. We must have routine testing of all fire hydrants supplied by Placerville's water system. This is currently not the case. If Placerville is going to charge its customers for city water, there's a legal responsibility to ensure that the water supply is available for residential use and for emergency fire use. I believe the city would be liable for fire damages if firefighters hook up to a city hydrant and find no water to supply the fire hoses. And an issue linked to water supply is the necessary periodic testing of flow control valves in Placerville's water delivery system. These valves direct the flow of water in the system and are needed to ensure water is delivered where and when it is needed. Currently, there is not a routine schedule to test these valves either. I believe we should have learned from the Caldor fire, the Camp Fire, the Crozier Fire, and the Pay Fire. We need to be prepared. We need our water valves to be in working condition, and we absolutely need all fire hydrants to be able to supply water whenever it's needed. We have good employees in Public Works. I take my hat off to them. I have confidence they can do this, given it as a priority. I would urge the city to do its due diligence with all the components of our water delivery system. These valves and hydrants have been neglected too long. It undermines the credibility of the city to be responsible and carry out its responsibility for public safety. It brings up some doubts as to whether the city is serious about earning the public trust. The city is doing a good job with managing overgrown weeds and brush. Yay, goats. Keep that part up and add the water.
Thank you, Sue. Anyone else? Oh, okay.
Hi, Ruth Carter, City of Placerville. And I just wanted to extend my heartfelt thanks to the city, Parks and Recreation Department, our city manager, our police department, and all the volunteers that it took to pull off this candlelight vigil for the 2 teens that passed away in the fire in Somerset on January 31st. It was a really great experience, and we are very proud to live in a community that cares so deeply for each other. And I just, on behalf of the families affected, wanted to express thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do live in a great town.
As if once wasn't enough. I guess I should explain that as a small boy, I heard about my grandparents' fire. And although I was very small, I hear the pain in the voice of families who lost photographs and things that can't be restored. So I guess I'm more overly sensitive about the subject of fire. But as you were just told about the subject of fire hydrants, nobody assumes you're not doing your job. We assume you are. But it's important to talk about that, to make sure the public knows what are the tests you're doing to check out the hydrants, because you don't want to find out after the fact. Likewise, I assume that you already had a fire plan, at least I hope you had, for escape. But what is it, and who's working on it? So far, what I learned is it's the sheriff's office. But why not the Department of Transportation that has us, for the county, doing their bidding for all kinds of things like one-way traffic, past Main Street, that kind of stuff. So it's the kind of thing that we should all be informed about in advance, rather than, as we were told, after the fact when it's too late. And that's why I hope that for the Fire Safe Council and the rest of you, you'll keep us informed in advance about all these steps that are being taken to protect us. That's the suggestion.
Thank you. All righty, let's bring it back up here. Normally, we don't respond, but this is a fairly important thing, and it seems.
As you may recall.
Yes.
There's a water rate study going on right now.
Right.
And I will tell you, one of the proposals within that is to hire additional personnel for valve exercising and fire hydrant testing. They're correct. We do not do a good job with that currently. I'm not saying that anything is broken necessarily, but there may be some instances where things are not working as well as they could be. So that will be coming back to you in the very near future. It'll be a decision that you'll have to make because obviously that means an additional cost, that means additional rates, et cetera. So just as a heads up, that should be coming back February, Dave? Is that what we're looking at?
That's correct.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I mean, my guess is that we're actually doing a good job with the resources we have. Yeah, I think that would be a way to put it. Okay. Anyway, well, thank you very much. We'll get that thing in February. All good ideas. I agree. Daylighting a lot of the stuff that we're already doing and putting it out in front of the public is a way to go. So we will dig all that up and we'll make sure that everybody knows what's going on. All right. Well, thank you very much. No, that's it for public comment. Okay. We did not pull any items from the agenda. We have no ordinances and no public hearings. So we're going to jet straight to 12.1. Consider approval of changes to the salary for the Director of Development Services position, abolishing the administrative assistant position in the Development Services Department, approving a development technician position in the Development Services Department, and retroactively approving and affirming a salary schedule effective December 21, 2024. Mr. Morris, please.
thank you, Mayor and Council. As I start this, I'd like to first start by introducing our interim Development Services Director, Mr. Carl Cahill. He has been here, 2 weeks now, I think, or a week and a half, sort of, and is doing a great job for us, helping out. He's got great experience, and we're happy with the work that he's doing, and he will assist us until we are able to bring somebody on permanently, full-time. Along those lines, as you recall, you approved last year for us to hire a recruiting firm to recruit for the Development Services Director. We did that, went through the process, fairly extensive advertising and outreach to various resources to obtain applicants. Unfortunately, through that, we came up with one good applicant. As we reached out to him, scheduled an interview, and as we were waiting for the interview date to get here, he notified us that he was no longer interested. So we did not have any applicants at that point to interview, and we were kind of back to square one. With that, we reached out to the consulting firm to find out, why. Why did we end up where we were? And the very first thing they brought up is your salary is not as competitive as it could be and is probably a key factor in the recruitment process. So with that, we went back, we looked at our salary study that we did a couple of years ago, looked at where we were at that time. At that time, we were about 15% below the market rate for that position. Since that time, we've had some fairly good increases in terms of cost of living. I think we had, Dave helped me out, 2 years of 4% since that.
Correct.
And then in addition, we applied the 1% of salary each year prorated to each position based on how far they were below market. So we've made a good attempt to bring that back. Unfortunately, we went back recently and did an additional just spot check on that particular position to see where we were. And it came out we didn't hold where we hoped we were, and we were actually a little bit even farther behind, as much as 21% behind now. So with that, Mr. Warren and I looked at this to see what we could do, and obviously we would love to bring every position up to the market rate if we could, but the revenues are just not there to do that at this point. So we looked at what could be done, and we have a recommendation before you tonight to increase that by approximately 7% in order to hopefully make it more competitive. We hope that is enough to, get the attention of more people and that we will get some good applicants for that position. We do not plan to use the recruiting firm again. We only spent about half of the money that we budgeted for that, but we can now use that money for an additional recruitment. The reason I'm saying that we are not going to use a recruitment firm is our interim director, Carl Cahill, actually works for a recruiting firm that we kind of pulled him away from for a little while, but he's still with them, and he has offered, as part of what he does here, to consult with us on good and bad and what we can do in order to hopefully get more good applicants. So we'll save some money that way, and I'm happy with. I've talked to Carl. In fact, I first met Carl maybe over maybe a year and a half ago or so, when we were actually getting ready to recruit for city engineer, and I interviewed firms, and Carl interviewed for his firm at that time to consider being a recruiting firm for us. We didn't do that at that time. We didn't use a recruiting firm for that position. So with that, we're recommending that the salary for the Development Services Director position be increased by 7%. And we will recruit using that salary going forward. In addition to this change, there's a change we like to recommend in the staffing there. Currently, last year during the budget time, we froze one of the positions there, which is a development technician position. And some of the requirements that are going on there, there's some workload issues in terms of the skill levels that we require. And we feel that by what we would like to do is eliminate the administrative assistant position and fill the development technician position. Requires a higher level of skill, and we think that we can get some things done, and there's some meetings they will go to that will help us keep up with the workload in that department until hopefully before too long we can fill all those positions. That's our ultimate goal. So what we're asking is, first off, are those two things to change the salary for the Development Services Director, and then the second is to basically abolish, and when I say abolish, that means basically we unfund the administrative assistant position and to fund the development technician position. The cost of the development technician position for the remainder of this year will be $3,325. The cost to increase the salary for the Development Services Director is, where is it now? I lost it, $7,631. Of course, that is if we had them for a full 6 months. Is that right, Dave? That's correct. And obviously, we're not going to have them for 6 months this year. In fact, by the time we get somebody hired, it'll probably be half that, I would guess. So we have those two things that we are asking you to do. And then there's one more in addition, and Dave, I'll handle this. If I don't do it right, let me know. But effective January 1st, minimum wage went from $16 to $16.50. We were in contact with the state, and that was really a last-minute thing. They came out and informed us. As you recall, on the ballot, there was a measure to increase the minimum wage, which did not pass. But then the state took that action in mid-December, I believe it was, to say, oh, yeah, the minimum wage is going up to $16.50. So we're requesting that our salary schedule be modified to identify that increase in the wage level, the minimum wage. And we will probably be coming back to you in the near future because there's potentially some compaction issues we haven't been able to look closely at yet, but we may have to correct due to that increase in the minimum wage. Anything else, Dave, there?
Covered it well. Thank you.
All right. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have on this item.
Are there any questions from up here?
So Cleaves, does that 7% bring us to the median part of the salary schedule, or not even close?
No,
We're
it's
21% below is what you were saying, right?
so we'll still be approximately 14% below, I believe.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions from up here? Would the public like to weigh in on this item?
Peg Vanderkar, Placerville. I did not come here with any intention of saying anything, but I'm curious about this position. First curiosity is, what does developmental services do? And second is, since the administrative assistant position is being eliminated, does that mean you have to fire somebody? 2 questions.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? You can comment on anything you'd like.
Where Johnny DiAugustini.
Yeah.
Well, he's been missing for a long time.
Okay,
We have over 1,000 citizens just missing.
that is not, excuse me, that is not part of this. You have to be speaking to the agenda item, which is the
Oh,
bus.
No. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So where do I go and when do I get to?
You kind of, that all should have been with the public comment side of the thing, back, item 8.
Okay.
Yeah, item 8. Thank you. Okay. Anyone want to comment on this item?
Sue Rodman, Placerville resident. If we want good people, we do have to pay them. And I looked at that salary schedule and found it incomprehensible. There were a few items that had yellow highlighting on them. I don't know if those are the ones that are actually in play right now, but it looked like it was the whole city pay schedule. And I could not make heads or tails out of it as to what this item actually is proposing as outlined in that thing. So I think if we're going to be transparent, there has to be some way to let people know what they're reading and what it means and what the changes are. So that's my comment on the.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? All right, let's bring it back up here. Cleve, would you like to describe the job duties of our, in the writ large, I mean, not down to the
Sure.
details.
So basically, the position supervises planning, building, and code enforcement. So
Yeah.
overall direction of all those functions for the city. So hopefully that's enough. Feel free to give me a call if you have more questions, Peg.
It's one of our higher up, it's like the C-suite sort of management sort of things.
Right.
I'm looking through the schedule here. We tend to sometimes just give the entire salary schedule out when we're doing these kinds of things. But as I look at it, the yellowed items are the items that are on the agenda. For example, some of these are where they're raising the minimum wage. If you look at the hourly wage, they're all $16.50 now. They were probably $16 before this. So the highlighted ones are the ones that are actually part of this discussion. There just happens to be more. We have more things about the minimum wage actually than the one item with the development services director. But maybe we can do a better job of describing that in the staff report.
We did. I believe we did show what the increases were and what the changes were going to be to those. But we can take a look at that.
Endeavor to do something better. Is there anything else?
The other question
yes.
that was raised is that means somebody was losing their job? No. We are looking at the person that is currently in that position. We believe they have the qualifications to move into the new position. We need to do some work on that and make sure, but no one will lose their job as a result of this change.
Right. But they'll have more functionality, presumably. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Are there any comments or questions up here? Okay. Can we get a motion?
I'll move item 12.1.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Carter.
Aye.
Councilmember No.
Aye.
Councilmember Yarbrough.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gottberg.
Aye.
Mayor Clarici.
Aye. Thank you very much. Item 12.2, consider delaying the process, of appointment to fill 3 unexpired terms of the Planning Commission, the Measure H, and the Measures H and L Sales Tax Committee and the Placerville Economic Advisory Committee. And there's one seat on each, so there's not 3 seats for each one, but 1 seat on each one of those. So there's, okay, just to be clear. And combine the recruiting efforts with the application period opening later this month for terms ending March 2025. Ms. O'Connell.
Thank you. I'll try to clarify this a little bit.
Yeah.
So every 2 years, or every odd-numbered year, the city opens an application period to the citizens of Placerville to serve on the city's committees and commissions. All terms are 4 years, beginning and ending in the month of March. So for instance, the application period that will soon be opening for the upcoming scheduled vacancies this year, with terms ending March 2025, will be for the purpose of filling those seats for another 4 years, with terms beginning March 2025 and ending in March 2029. Another application period will open in 2 years, in January 2027, to fill the other seats on those committees and commissions for another 4 years, and the process will repeat again in 2029. So aside from the scheduled vacancies, this March, the city is facing 3 current or unscheduled vacancies. You listed those, Mayor Clarici. So there's 2 seats with terms ending March 2025, and that is the Planning Commission and Placerville Economic Advisory Committee, also known as PEAK. And then there's 1 seat on the Measures H&L Sales Tax Committee with that term ends March 2027. So with 2 of these seats having terms ending this March, the City Council may wish to consider holding off on those appointments because those new members would only serve for a couple of months, and then their term would end. And then for the 3rd vacancy, with the term ending March 2027, staff intends to fill this vacancy as a partial or unexpired term with no changes to that term end date. Interviews are tentatively scheduled for the week of February 17th to the 21st, and staff will be contacting the City Council regarding their availability for that. And then confirmation of the appointments will take place the following week at the February 25th City Council meeting. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to help you out.
So essentially, because of this guy, we have some open seats that, if this had happened 3 or 6 months ago, we would have gone ahead and filled them because there was some break. But since the timing of it, we're just saying the ones that are currently vacant, we'll just hold those till our regular recruiting. That way, we're not doing 2 recruitments, we're just doing 1. We believe that the Planning Commission and Peak and everybody can muddle through with the number of people they have presently, and that will only be for a month and a half or so until we go through the recruiting process. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's perfectly clear, I think. Thank you very much. Did a very good job there. Okay, are there any questions for Ms. McConnell on this from up here? Okay, great. Would the public like to comment on this agenda item? Okay, we'll bring it back up here for a motion.
Move staff recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Carter?
Aye.
Councilmember No?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarbrough?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gottberg?
Aye.
Mayor Clarici?
Aye. Thank you very much. All right. 12.3. Consider approving an agreement for engineering services in the amount of $3,622,276.15. I like the 15 cents part. And authorizing the city manager to execute the same and the issuance of notice to proceed, number 1, in the amount of $970,399.49 to Wood Rogers, Inc. for the US 50 Trip to Green Congestion Management and Resiliency Strategy Project. Ms. McConnell. No. It does say Ms. McConnell down there. Ms. McConnell, you know, it threw me off.
They're very similar.
I'm sorry.
All right, thank you, Mayor and council members. The item before you this evening would approve an agreement for engineering services with Wood Rogers to begin the US 50 Trip to Green Congestion Management and Resiliency Strategy Project. In 2023, following the success of the Trip to Green pilot program, staff applied for and successfully secured local transportation climate adaptation program grant funds for a new project to install permanent infrastructure on US 50. The primary objective of the Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Program is to provide support for applicants, which would be us, the local agency, as they develop and implement local surface transportation infrastructure projects to address climate change effects, improve transportation and community resiliency to natural disasters, and advance environmental justice by benefiting climate-vulnerable, underserved, or under-resourced communities. This funding source cannot be used for any planning level type of study. There are 4 types of infrastructure project categories for this funding. The Trip to Green project is eligible for LTCAP funding under the Community Resilience and Evacuation Route category because the proposed improvements will improve the transportation system and will improve community resilience to natural disasters. Placerville and the surrounding communities in El Dorado County are very much climate vulnerable communities. The proposed improvements on US 50 will improve transportation equity by relieving congestion on the local roads and enable the local residents and businesses better access to goods and services, and improving emergency response times during peak periods of congestion on US 50. Of the 15 projects recommended by the California Transportation Commission for funding in 2023, this project ranked in the top 3 and has been highlighted in statewide CTC meetings due to the ingenuity and innovative concept. The vision for the permanent Trip to Green infrastructure includes features like intelligent transportation system signage, barriers, gates, and channelization devices, which would enable the traffic signals on US 50 to be held in a green phase during dedicated periods of time. The traffic control devices would prevent left turns on US 50 as well as north-south crossings of US 50 during Trip to Green, with the exception of emergency vehicle access. The proposed project also includes a pedestrian overcrossing of US 50 at Canal Street. On August 13th, 2024, staff publicly released a request for proposals for environmental and engineering services for the project, and by the proposal due date of September 10th, only 1 proposal was received. The proposal from Wood Rogers was reviewed by a panel of 3 people and scored based on the evaluation criteria described in the RFP. Unanimously, the proposal scored very high. On October 11th, staff held an informal interview with Wood Rogers and the consultant team to discuss the project, ask questions about the proposal and scope of work, and discuss the overall strategy for the project. The interview discussion went very well, and staff is excited about the team that Wood Rogers has put together for the project. As you all know, this project is very different from normal transportation projects that the city has delivered in the past. It will require ingenuity while also finding the ability to meet the standard Caltrans approval process, which will be no easy feat. But Wood Rogers has assembled a team of experts with the wide variety of expertise needed to deliver this complex project. Their team includes transportation civil designers, structural engineers, intelligent transportation system experts, public outreach specialists, and environmental and right-of-way consultants. It is a very comprehensive team and a team that we are certain can deliver this project. Approval of the engineering services agreement tonight and authorizing staff to issue notice to proceed number 1 would begin the project approval and environmental documentation phase of the project. Their scope of work is also grouped into 5 phases, which would be authorized separately as the additional funding becomes available, which includes the environmental phase, the final design phase, right-of-way engineering, grant support, and construction engineering. The City Council adopted the 24-25 Capital Improvement Program budget, which appropriated $1 million for the new US 50 Trip to Green project. The $1 million budget includes $800,000 in LTCAP funds and $200,000 in surface transportation block grant program funds, sorry, that's a mouthful, which provides the required 20% local match. The first project phase, for this first project phase, and in support of the regionally significant project, El Dorado County partnered with the city and contributed half of the local match. After completion of the environmental phase, staff will submit a request for the allocation of the final design and right-of-way phase funding, totaling $2.2 million in LTCAP funds. That phase will also require a 20% local match in the amount of $550,000. This will all bring the future project budget to $3,750,000, which will fully fund the agreement for engineering services with Wood Rogers. Currently, the construction phase is not funded, and we are working with the El Dorado County Transportation Commission to identify and apply for construction funding. And if needed, staff will authorize the grant support task in Wood Rogers' scope of work to have them help with any grant applications. The scope of work with Wood Rogers also includes a significant public outreach component. We will be holding at least 3 public meetings, and we encourage the public to stay informed and engaged in this project. We want to develop the best project that fits the needs of the residents of Placerville, and I think we can get there. Tonight in attendance is Brian Gant, the project manager with Wood Rogers, and he's available to answer any questions about their scope of work, but that concludes my verbal report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from up here? Wow. Well, you did a great job. I'm sure we'll think of something. Anyway, okay, anybody from the public wish to comment on this item?
Again, Vanderkar, Placerville. Sorry for more questions. This sounds like a fantastic project. The comment was made that there's no money for planning level action in this grant. I think grant is the right word, but anyway, this amount of money. And then Ms. McConnell stated there's no construction money available yet. So this particular bunch of money is going to do what exactly? That's what I'm confused about. So.
Anyone else?
I know we've beat this until it's dead and revived again. The grant money that we're receiving, I just want to be clear, requires a 20% match. So just from the numbers that were provided, that don't include the numbers that we don't know yet, that's $750,000. So where are we pulling this money from exactly, and why do we need this project? I understand the need for having emergency evacuation plans, and I know that that was worked on during Caldor fire by our previous city engineer, but I'm just wondering why we're moving forward with this project when we don't have money for staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I was around when we did do Trip to Green and during the Caldor fire, and it worked. And so as part of what we need to do to be prepared for disasters, I think we do need to move forward. And I am really thrilled to hear that El Dorado County is finally going to come along with us and contribute.
Thank you. Anyone else? All righty. Bring it back up here. Trip to Green has actually, okay. Part of the Trip to Green is for emergency response. That's been stated. The other part of it is the idea that on these really heavy days, when Apple Hill is really going, the traffic backs up in town. To the point where sometimes you can't get across town. I mean, I live out Cedar Ravine, other folks live in other parts of the city, and we know that on the really bad days, you just can't get across town. There's always been a question about emergency services, but you know, they have sirens and big things, and they can literally push you out of the way if they feel they need to get somewhere in a hurry. We don't want to resort to that. And we get a lot of comments from the neighborhoods. The most, I guess the poster child for this has been Clay Street, where it gets like a parking lot up there. And so Trip to Green is a way to deal with that and to mitigate that traffic going through town on those really busy weekends. And then, of course, the emergency response part of it. So, you know, this has been around for a while. On my first go-around on the council, this is something we had talked about. How do you get people through town? And which way you do it. And, you know, one of the alternatives, obviously, you build a freeway, which has its issues. It's very expensive. There have been all sorts of things. And this seemed to be one that can be implemented to do that. But that's just my observations, years living in the town and seeing the backups and what happens, and getting the response from the neighborhoods when things get backed up. And then when it gets really bad, you start seeing it all over town. You see it on Cedar Ravine, you see it going up over Airport, you see it on Coleman, you see it up, I mean, it just, we've all been there, we know, I'm just preaching to the choir here. So anyway, that's my observations about why we need it. As for the money, yes, that's a very good question. And when we get the match, and that's when we'll have to go back to our good friends at the EDCTC and also with the county and get some cooperation on how we're going to match this money. Most of the funds that we're using, like for example, the match money here, RSTP, is that what or some form of it? Yeah. We could not hire, I don't think we can hire anybody using RSTP. You can use it for a lot of things. It's pretty fungible, but I'm not sure we could hire anybody with it. So we have these kinds of funds that, the color of money, which is always an issue. And this is a thing that we can put it towards. So there's a little bit of that, but those are good points. And this is a relatively small part of this. When we get to the big number on there, which is like 3 million and some change, then we're going to have some real serious discussions. And then we'll find out what's going to happen. But anyway, that's my observation. If anyone else wants to comment on this, by all means.
I was just going to mention, ask Melissa once more, there was a question of what exactly will this be paying for? Can you outline that one more time?
It is. Yes.
Sure. So this first phase is for the environmental studies to be completed. So we'll be working on the preliminary design and the environmental studies. From there, we go into preparation of bid documents. So we will essentially have everything ready to go out to bid so a contractor could build the project. So while we're not doing planning studies, it is still a significant level of design and environmental and right-of-way services that will be completed under this contract.
Pretty straightforward. Okay.
I have a couple comments. Yeah, I know we're a long way down the road on this project. I went to all the public meetings here in Town Hall as a member of this, as a citizen, and we have all the data from the test, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the numbers say that we saved eastbound direction people an average of 8 seconds, and westbound direction an average of 55 seconds. And 93% of those drivers that were saving 55 seconds are not residents of Placerville, not even residents of the county. So I just have an issue spending Placerville tax dollars on such a tiny benefit, and only 7% of those people are residents. I think financially speaking, that's not very responsible use of our tax dollars. The Transportation Commission released this giant 144-page study from those 3 days that we did it back in 2022. And 3.5 minutes was the most during any of those times that we saved drivers coming through town. So it just seems like a lot of money for 55 seconds of travel improvement and not even being residents of the city. I think that the evacuation portion of this is important and that we should focus on that evacuation portion. I think there's a way to do that without the permanent infrastructure. But I've always been a little skeptical of this project just because it's a huge amount of money for almost no benefit. And my skepticism has not changed after reading all the reports from the tests. So that's kind of where I'm at with the scenario.
Well, thank you. Anyone else want to weigh in?
Yeah, the trip to green gives us 3 little snapshots, and the reality is, I can go to Rayleigh's in about 7 minutes from my house, and generally takes about 7 minutes to get back. And when we have those weekends with those heavy traffic, I think I timed it once, and it took me 32 minutes to get from Rayleigh's back to my house on a heavy weekend, and that's a lot more than 55 seconds. And so the impacts are, I think, much greater than just some of the statistical stuff. It's, as was mentioned earlier, the residents on Clay Street, when you can't get out of your neighborhood, you can go one way, but you can't go the other because of the time. There is a big impact on the residents. Thank you.
Yeah, just to kind of build on that, when I wasn't around, well, I was around, but I wasn't important. When they did Trip to Green, the test, The first weekend was chosen just because they wanted to do it. You know, they wanted to, and so they picked a weekend, I think it was in August or something, that was not a particularly active weekend. They just needed like a proof of concept that they could actually get the barriers out, do it, how it would flow, how they would manipulate it. The second weekend, I forget what was going on. It was Labor Day, and then I forget the third week. So there's a little bit of just like learning stuff. I'm not dismissing the value of what's there, but there was some interesting nuance to that data. And you know, yes, if this was just about moving people down the freeway, no one would care. You know, I don't care how long it takes somebody. If everybody stayed on Highway 50 that was coming through town out of Apple Hill, that would be fine, but they don't. And so the other side of that coin is what Councilmember No was talking about, was the marked improvement in the neighborhoods when this was going on. And that's what I care about. I don't care about the freeway traffic. That could be backed up to kingdom come. It's what's going on in the neighborhoods in town, and there was a significant improvement to movement and mobility on, you know, when it was tested, you know. And so, I think we have to be careful. It's a lot of money and it's a lot of things. And I have my issues with fixing a freeway for something that really is not our thing. You know, Apple Hill is the county, and the people that come through here are the county, and you know. But on the other hand, when it goes and impacts locals, which it had been, that's when I kind of go, okay, this is something we need to think about. So that's my feeling about that. But, you know, your points are well taken. So anything, is there anything? Oh, we have a real expert, someone with degrees.
I just wanted to add one other really important benefit of the project is the pedestrian overcrossing, which is very much a local issue. We have high school students, middle school students that cross the street at Canal Street all the time. And that is a benefit that will be received every single day with this project. And so that's something when we talk about how expensive this project is going to be, that's one of the big ticket costs.
Right.
You know, so I mean, it's really important to recognize that that's a huge local safety benefit also.
And actually, it's an interest. Now, we're going to get into some traffic stuff now. We have some of the best synchronized lights in the world sitting out here on Highway 50. They come in, they test them, they've got them down. There's certain traffic engineering, traffic concepts that you have to abide by. You can only keep traffic held up for so long at any one red light. There's a bunch of things. But what really messes up the traffic is the people pushing the buttons and crossing Highway 50, because then that creates a delay that takes like many cycles. I don't know how many cycles it takes before the lights get back to their original thing. So, I mean, quite honestly, if we could build a project that was just the pedestrian overcrossing for Canal, and I think there might be some Caltrans issues for 49 and 50 that I'm not aware of. But if we could pull all that surface crossing off of the freeway and just have the lights, that would be a huge benefit to the wait times on 50 that accumulate on those heavy weekends. We're going to be kind of studying everything about that with this project. So it might very well be that we come back and say, if we just build an overcrossing, get rid of the surface crossings, we get 80% of our benefit for a lot less money, because then you're not talking about putting up the barricades. We still have to deal with emergency stuff, but I agree. I think there's ways to deal with emergency stuff that are less capital intensive. So we're a little voyage of discovery here, and our good friends at Wood Rogers, who I have in other lives worked with, not currently, so there's no conflict of interest. And have had excellent results with Wood Rogers. So anyway, okay, my thing. Anybody else? Okay, we've had public comment. We're back here. Can I get a motion?
I will move item 12.3.
Second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Carter?
No.
Councilmember No?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarbrough?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gottberg?
Aye.
Mayor Clarici?
Aye. Thank you very much. Good conversation there. I like that. Well done. All right. Council reports and other agency meetings. El Dorado County Transit Authority.
We did not meet.
El Dorado County Transportation Commission. We did not meet. LAFCO.
Did not meet.
Wow. It feels like the holidays. SACOG. We did meet. Did I already talk about this? No, because it was after our meeting. I actually went to a SACOG meeting. I reprised my role as SACOG person because Michael was, of course, no longer on the city council anymore. So I went down there, and it was pretty light. You know, they give you, you know, for the people that get voted off of islands all over the region, they give you a plaque, and it's nice. It was a very nice send-off for both our board of supervisor. Wendy Thomas was the county representative, and she justifiedly and deservedly got a lot of very nice words thrown in her direction as her leaving. And I actually drove down with her because she was still on the board of soups at the time. And then Michael Saragosa, who was the chair this last year, also received accolades and kudos and nice things. And then other than that, there wasn't much else. It was I got to see a bunch of people I hadn't met for 4 or 6 years, actually. So that was fun. Anyway, so that was the SACOG meeting. So it was a good times. But our next one will be back, and we'll be back into doing real SACOGian sort of things. Okay. Pioneer Energy.
They meet this week.
Fantastic. Fire Safe.
We did meet and just wanted to announce the Wildfire Resilience Workshop on January 29th here at Town Hall at 5 p.m.
That's very important. January 29th again?
Correct.
At 5 o'clock. Here, January 29th, 5 o'clock. Very important. Put that on your calendars. Opportunity Knocks?
Did not meet.
Okay. Are there any requests for future agenda items?
Yes, I have 2.
Okay.
That I would like the council to consider.
Right.
First one is to direct staff to bring back city manager recruitment options. Now that we have a date from our city manager of October 1st, we have to actually be serious about this. Okay. And the second one is years and years ago, we started to move forward with a trail adoption program, and just like everything that, you know, other things get put forward. But I think that we need to move forward with a trail security and maintenance plan. I was on the trail today. There was a campfire, you know, and we just need to really stay on top of that and maybe look at some options. So those are my 2 requests.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I also am good with both those.
Okay. Okay, great. Make it so. All right. You know, I'm a little privilege here. I'm going to shout out to my lovely bride, who retired on January 3rd from Marshall Hospital after 45 years of working up there. She is happier. She got a little bit of a cold, which kind of slowed her down, but she is happier than you can imagine. And she's home now, and it's a lot of fun. I've been working alone for about 15 years, so it's kind of weird having somebody around. But it's been great. So just, honey, I know I hope you're not watching this. Anyway, great. Good on my wife, Yvette. Yvette is quite a person. Okay, so that was my personal privilege. Okay, city manager and staff reports, go.
So we have just the one item, the fire report. Before I turn it over to Tim, these reports that we normally do on your first meeting, we have moved to the second meeting because there are certain months when that meeting falls fairly early in the month and we have a hard time getting all of the stats together. So going forward, you'll see these on your second meeting of each month. But this particular one, we presented one to you in December, and I apologize to Tim because it wasn't correct. But so you have the November report on your agenda to replace that tonight, and I'll turn it over to Tim if he has any comments on that.
Thank you, Cleve. Thank you, Mayor and Council. The November stats are there in your packet for Station 25, and probably the only thing I would like to draw a comment to, unless you had any further questions. On the cover, you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner, that's engineer Corey Vermillion. He was an engineer that worked at Station 25, recently promoted to the rank of captain, and he was then moved to Station 17 in Pollock Pines. And on the bottom right is firefighter Caleb Melton, who was promoted to engineer. He was also working out of Station 25 at the time, and he has since been relocated to Station 19 out in Pleasant Valley. So both of the 25 guys that received promotions.
Oh, good. Congratulations to everybody on that. Those are good news there. Okay, anything else? Do you have any questions for the fire chief? Okay, great. Thank you. I'll let you read the upcoming items, and if there's no other impromptu, just want to put your heart out there for the city and recognize people, we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for coming.